dependencies are holding us back. Dependency is something that you need to use to do something else. And in real life, it can be items you are dependent on, it can be car, it can be your bed in order to get some good sleep. These things are your dependencies in your real life. We have the same thing in software engineering. We have tons of dependencies that we can't really function without. And we can start with operating system. We can then go towards libraries. Libraries can build frameworks, and you get the idea. And there is one thing that is little dangerous with overusing dependencies and being over-dependent on them, and that's knowledge substitution. So when you want to learn and understand something, you should be, or you should strive for, ability to build it by yourself from scratch. The from scratch is doing a very heavy lifting here, because in order to bake a cake you need to invent basically entire universe, as the quote goes. But in this case I'm talking about more practical approach. So if you are building, let's say, a web development project, there is tons of dependencies. Your only job is to glue everything together to make it work. We are going towards making, but we are skipping the understanding part. And that's my problem. As you see, a lot of developers don't even know how to set up, I don't know, a Linux server nowadays. They are so reliant on these software as a service tools or infrastructure as a service tools to even handle the deployment, so their users can actually visit their site. And I think that's crazy. So we are actually recommending these tools to the new developers so they can build quicker and faster and deploy faster. But why do we cut the experience, the most important part of our job, which you actually can be reliant on and you can be dependent on your experience? Why are we cutting that out of the picture? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I know that there is this very economic view on everything, that, oh, it will take time to actually learn something and then implement it. I get it. So there are a ton of new people in tech nowadays, and we still push them toward these services and very big dependencies. They're taking basically the knowledge part out of the picture. And I don't like it. But there is also one more thing. And as you see, these dependencies are kind of greedy in a sense that they want to be in the main picture. So these dependencies are living projects. And over time, they will accumulate more and more features. They will try to do more for you. And that's my problem also. Because as you can see, these dependencies can become frameworks or even products by itself. And that means that the incentive of the dependency is no longer to fulfill very specific niche or very specific function that you can depend on, but they try to get the foot in your project to also use this feature and also use that feature. And it would be nice if it could do this and that. And I think we should be a little bit more careful when we pick our dependencies or how we think about them. And I would say currently the number one issue is dependencies of dependencies and their dependencies. And if you look at this huge tree of branches, one may ask, like, is this even efficient way of building things for the future? Because right now we are piling stuff on the top of the other stuff. And if you think about web development, for example, you are standing so high from the machine that it's actually crazy. And my problem with this approach of dependencies becoming this standalone system is that it's basically impossible to get rid of them afterwards, because they are so entrenched into the ecosystem itself. So they are not longer fulfilling one single function. They are trying to become a thing on its own. And I think the browser is a great example of how one dependency can create an ecosystem, and it's very hard to replace it. And we as developers, we know that it's not efficient to do the web development the way it is done, but the argument is that what's the alternative, or who will build the alternative, because there is so much money in browser ecosystems. And as you can see from economic perspective, the browser is a very successful dependency that entrenched itself and created ecosystem around itself, and it's basically impossible to remove it. So the incentive to go back and rebuild the foundation is guarded by, as you can guess, by the economic view. It's not worth it anymore. I think it's a brilliant way to stay relevant as a software project where you basically are so dependent on that nobody can remove you entirely. This is something I was thinking lately about, and I wanted to share it with you, because usually these dependencies are like, it's the beaten path. Usually when you try to do something, there is a set of dependencies you should use, and yeah, it's ready for you, and you can go take it, build it, ship it. Great. But nobody's really, or nobody can even ask, like, is this even good way to do things? So as developers, we obviously are losing something when we are using these dependencies. And this video isn't about how dependencies are bad. Like, it's obvious that we can get rid of them, or we would need to write our operating system from scratch and everything that sits between. I just wanted to share this different perspective on dependencies, because they are usually hidden in plain sight, because we need to use them to do actually something useful. Everything is dependent on something, at least in software world. So don't get me wrong, I don't want to reinvent everything from scratch, but the idea that I can build these things that I'm depending on is giving me confidence to use these tools, because if there is a problem with it, I can replace it by myself. The benefit of knowing how to build the dependencies you are depending on is that you simply know how the system works in and out. And that's something that is not that encouraged anymore, because again, economic view on everything, it takes time to actually learn something. So you should skip it and go straight to the results. So I hope that we will encourage more exploration regarding dependencies in terms of actually knowing how the dependency work. New developers should look definitely into the source code to understand how the systems are built. Encourage developers more to try to build these things by themselves to actually get the knowledge they need to understand the entire system. And after that, you should use these dependencies because they are well tested, more eyes are looking on them. So you shouldn't remove yourself from the process of understanding and just use these off-the-shelf services or off-the-shelf dependencies and heavily lean on these services and third parties that are making your life convenient, but focus more on gathering experience and understanding of how these systems actually work underneath the hood. So don't remove yourself from the process of understanding, gather experience, gather knowledge, try to build these things by yourself first, or at least explore them. The great thing about the software and software dependency is that you can actually look into the source code if it's available, and that's also a great resource to learn and understand how the other humans build it and what other dependencies they used to actually build this dependency for you to make your life easier. So that was my perspective on dependencies, and I would like to hear yours. How you pick dependencies? What are you thinking about during the development process? I think these discussions are very important, and mainly for the new developers who are coming into the tech. Substituting the amount of work you need to do is great, but substituting the knowledge is not. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more, and see you in the next one.